All right, well, hello everyone. Let me turn this mic down real quick. All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to Before the Four. This is digital host A.J. Wuest, hoping everyone is having a happy Thursday so far. Now, wherever you're watching Before the Four this afternoon, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or the 48 Now live stream, as always, thank you so much for watching and spending just a bit of your Thursday afternoon here. Now, we're going to jump into the day's top stories, and of course, the big story of the day, the weather for this weekend. Governor Kay Ivey just recently declared a state of emergency for the winter weather we are expecting for this weekend. We're going to turn it over to First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis for the latest he's seeing on the radar. Brad?
Well, we got an ice storm warning out for the northwest corner of the state. Wouldn't be surprised if we have similar results in the far northeast corner of the state too. So we're going to be watching DeKalb, Marshall, and Jackson County very closely through this event. It's going to be a very prolonged event. Nothing on radar right now. We had a couple of showers near Wuest Lake. They are on the way out. Here are those alerts. The ice storm warning, that's probably a more critical warning here. But I will tell you, a winter weather advisory is an upgrade from a winter storm watch. And you just have to ask folks over there in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia, about that, because they downplayed one several years ago, and boy, it was a bad time out there on the interstate. I'm sure some of you remember that. About the ice storm warning, this is more critical as far as the infrastructure and power outages go, but also, as I mentioned, we are watching closely the higher terrain over here as you get into near Henniger and Fort Payne, Geraldine. There's a wedge of cooler air that may lock in place and keep that warmer air that's eventually moving in, keep that from moving in. Here's that area low pressure, continues to move pretty much to the east and southeast. It's going to cross over Mexico. And the complicated part of the whole forecast is, number one, it's been so far out. We're trying to time it out for you. And this has been over water where we don't have any sounding data at all. But again, Hurricane Hunter aircraft was out there flying through that yesterday. They probably were out there again today as well. But here's the latest forecast. This is the high resolution model guidance. I think we start off between 3 and 5 in the morning with a mixture of sleet and snow, and that will be followed by some freezing rain. The thing about this pink area in the model, it doesn't know if it's sleet or freezing rain. It does if you can break it down a little bit more, but what we're showing you, it's hard to tell whether it's sleet or freezing rain. So we're just kind of keep it at wintry mix. We could see a quick inch or two of snow or sleet mix, especially along and north of the Tennessee River. There's 9 o'clock in the morning. Also notice the temperatures stay in the mid-20s. So again, when you start off this cold and you add moisture on top of it, it doesn't take long to create problems. We saw that 2 years ago with the sleet. We had about an inch of sleet 2 years ago, another inch on top of it through the event, and the roads just never recovered. This time we will get some rain eventually, but through noon, this model here locking in with the cold air, especially along Highway 72 and north. That wintry mix continues. I think a lot of this is going to be sleet, and I'm hoping a lot's going to be sleet out in northwest Alabama too, because if we start getting over a ½ inch of freezing rain, that's when we start to see the power lines fail and trees begin to fall. Notice the warming nose here. We talked about this. This is 6 o'clock in the evening. So we've had about 10 to 12 hours of sleet and freezing rain in some areas, but this warm nose is going to come in. This is going to melt things pretty well. The roads will probably get slushy, and it's a big if they did have any sleet or snow accumulation on them from the morning hours. So we'll watch that kind of improve there temporarily. Again, that's going to be after dark. So I guess some good news here during the overnight hours. The temperatures start to warm up a little bit. Here's just before 9. But also notice over here, just different weather, different environment as we have this wedge of cooler air that tries to reinforce and kind of change things back into a sleet, freezing rain mix. And I mentioned these colder valleys. What cold air does, it's dense and it drains into these valleys. So you got a lot of this going on. You get a big ridge top, and then at the bottom of it, that's the valley. And those are the areas that may trap that colder air, and it may not get out. You can see that continues overnight through at least midnight Sunday. Meanwhile, rain over here in the Huntsville metro area, and even rain over there towards Florence, but not necessarily the same thing as you get over here into Mississippi, as they may stay below freezing on the colder side of the system. And look at this. This is Sunday morning. This is heavy rain, but it's still sleet and freezing rain in parts of northwest Georgia, up towards Chattanooga, even east of Thames Ford Lake. So we'll be watching those areas very closely. Again, these areas are hard to get reports out of, so you can send us that information on Facebook and social media. We'd appreciate that. You can also email us at weather@waff.com. Notice Sunday morning we continue with heavy rain. Here's the highlight of our concern for power lines and the ice accumulation in these areas, and you notice how we climbed to an inch. And this is how I'm hoping some of this is sleet, and the model is missing that, because that would be devastating to see an inch on power lines in Mississippi. Same thing over here, Henniger, Fort Payne, approaching a ½ inch of ice accumulation, concern for power outages. Then much colder air follows this as we go into next week. Tuesday morning, some areas will start off close to 10 to 11 degrees and not warming up much more than that. Quick look at your 10-day forecast. Alert days all the way through Sunday. Monday could probably be one, but I think you're probably alert by then of the cold air that's coming in. So this may all end as some black ice Sunday as the colder air starts to move back through. I'll have the latest look at 4, 5, 6, and 10.
All right, Brad, that is very good to know. And you heard him there. He'll have the latest at 4, 5, 6, and 10. But before the 10 o'clock newscast, you guys already know the drill. 48 First Alert Weather Extra will be streaming right here wherever you're watching Before the 4 right now. So that's Facebook, YouTube, or our 48 Now live stream. That will be tonight at 9:30. And of course, Brad will go through the radar. He'll be back here in the streaming center, and you can feel free to leave a comment, any questions, thoughts, concerns you might have. Brad will see those comments and he will shout you out. And if you have a question, he will work to find that answer for you. So you're just not going to want to miss it. First Alert Weather Extra. But now that we know the latest forecast, the Tennessee Valley is preparing for the worst this weekend. We're going to go through what's all in those preparations here in the Valley, from the Shoals to Sand Mountain today, starting in Huntsville. Now, Noah Cowell lets us know what city and county leaders are doing right now. Let's take a look.
Snow is one thing, but what comes after it is why the city of Huntsville shut down 2 years ago.
When we start talking about ice, Jeff, then that does concern us.
If any amount of ice forms, any movement on the road will be difficult.
Any amount of ice is pretty dangerous, and certainly a quarter inch could be very hazardous.
Salt brine is used on roads to keep ice from forming, but with that rain coming in, they're worried all that brine will just wash off. County Commission Chairman Mac McCutcheon says each district is prepared to apply it at a moment's notice, each with a greater brine capacity, plus a county brine machine that can produce 6,000 gallons an hour.
We'll be in a situation where it's just touch and go. We'll just have to be watching the weather, but at least we've got more equipment now and more product now than we had, so we can get it out quicker if we have that window of opportunity to get out there.
Emergency responders like Hemsey are also prepared with an increased amount of paramedics on hand this weekend, but their job does become much easier when no one risks their lives on icy roads.
We are bringing in additional personnel, having additional people on call, stay off the roads as much as possible. Make sure that they have their medications, make sure they keep their cell phones charged all the time in case you have a power outage. If they do have to travel, make sure they have a survival kit in their car or truck.
Yep, and now let's talk about Huntsville utilities. With a potential busy weekend ahead, Callie Nee spoke with utility leaders who say they're prepared for situations such as this. Let's take a look.
Officials here at Huntsville Utilities tell me they prep all year long for weather events like this. Joe Gertis from Huntsville Utilities says all year long they're on call, so they're ready when big storms blow into town.
When we have problems, everyone's ready to respond, but the planning really entails making sure we have the resources in place, that the equipment is ready, and in this case, chains on tires to get through the hazardous driving conditions and to just wait.
Gertis told me their biggest concern is ice. He said their equipment is not designed for heavy ice accumulation, so they are monitoring the weather closely to make sure they are prepared for anything, adding that their team will be working in the storm if utilities go out.
It is important to them that our customers are not without service for as short a time as possible. So they will work hard to get service back up and running as fast as they can, but the situation is aggravated in this case by the weather.
Gertis told me each and every storm is different, so every year they learn more about how to deal with this weather. Reporting in Huntsville, Callie Neese, 48 News, on your side.
All right, certainly good to know, but now we're going to take a break, but coming up, covering propane sales in the Sand Mountain region and also preparations in the Shoals. Volunteer fire departments stepping up to keep everyone safe this weekend. It's all ahead. We'll go through it all in 1 minute. All right, break is over, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Before the Four. Now, with this weekend's potential icy weather, propane sales are through the roof, especially out in Jackson County. 1,400 gallons of it was sold in just one day. Will Eldridge with the latest.
I'm here at Green's Building Supply, where the staff tells me they had their busiest day in over 2 years. With a winter storm watch in effect, Scottsboro shoppers are taking no chances on being without propane. When I got here around noon today, customers were lined up with 3 or 4 tanks apiece waiting on their propane. Since then, the full tank of propane has been completely depleted. Cashier Brittany Green says that's after they already ran out of propane this morning and had to order more.
But we left here around 4 o'clock yesterday and still had 600 gallons left in our propane tank. We ran out this morning around probably 8 o'clock. We've already had to call the propane company. They have already came and filled us back up. They gave us 800 gallons, everything they had left, and we're almost back down to nothing. So.
Just to put that into perspective, Green tells me they opened up around 6 and closed around 4 this afternoon, meaning they sold around 1,400 gallons in under 10 hours. They plan on ordering more and being open again tomorrow. Reporting in Scottsboro, Will Eldridge, 48, on your side.
That's certainly a lot of propane. Thank you so much, Will. And now out in the Shoals, volunteer firefighters are suiting up and preparing to keep everyone safe this weekend. Aria Pond spoke with them and has more.
We're looking at a number of different issues as far as being able to get out and get to a response, whether it be medical or wreck scene. Hopefully no fires.
Waterloo Fire Chief Ted Kavich says for small towns, especially situated on back roads, it's necessary to start preparing way in advance. Kavich says his department has put chains on the wheels of the truck, stocked up on gasoline, and made sure their staff is prepared to get called in, seeing as every second matters.
With the icing, the response time gets added where normally it may be a 10-minute response or a 5-minute response. That can be 20 minutes.
Kavich says this ain't his first winter rodeo, though.
The National Guard was called in. We had trees to cut to get to Waterloo. From here to Waterloo's 5 miles, and you could not get there until we cleared the road along the rock wall where the power lines and the trees down.
Nearly 3 weeks without power in 1995 is the worst winter weather Kavich says he's seen here, and the second worst that he could think of was in 2024. So Kavich says he likes to prepare early and urges people to do the same and to just stay home.
It's just take your time, slow down. It's a weekend. Unless you have to get out, the best way is to stay home, and hopefully The electricity stays on and you can watch football.
Though if you do have to get out on the road, Cabbage suggests that you pack a bag to put in your car in case you do get temporarily stranded out on the road. So pack a blanket, gloves, a jacket, snacks, a shovel, and anything else that you think you could possibly need. Reporting in Waterloo, Aria Pons, 48 on your side.
Good to know. And now let's go into the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscasts. More weather coverage tonight and everything you need to know to stay safe and prepared for this weekend. An update on the Sutton Apartments in Madison and what's next for those residents. Callie Neese will have that story coming up. And finally, Huntsville City Council to vote on whether or not to annex more land. Get those details, and these are just a few of the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscasts. And now it is time. We have not a lot of time to do it, but we are going to jump into Facebook fun. Our question today, we asked on Facebook, what is something that the younger generations will never experience? Let's see what y'all had to say. Derek said a remote with a cord on it. Definitely have never seen that. Kiki said newspapers with actual news, crosswords, and coupons. I love a good newspaper, the vintage feel of a newspaper. Very sad to see they're starting to trickle out. Denise said using a payphone. I've never had to use a payphone. Cheap rent, very good point there. Kiera Fry with that comment there. And we have time for one more. Rotary telephones. My Nana, my grandma, actually had a rotary telephone, and I used to call my cell number with that rotary phone. Awesome stuff. I would like to see rotary telephones make a comeback, but they likely will not. They most definitely will not. But anyway, that is it for today's Before the Four. I hope you all have a great night tonight. Enjoy our evening newscasts, and as always, thank you so much for watching. You all have a great night.